All right, thank you very much for taking time out of your day to join me in this live update on what is going on with the situation for parts of the South with a significant winter storm expected to track out of parts of Texas into Oklahoma. We've got Kansas, Missouri. You can see we've got Arkansas, Louisiana, and all the way over to the Carolinas and the Southern Appalachians. In fact, even further on up here into some parts of the Appalachians, we've got winter weather advisories getting going. This live update is going to cover all of those details, and we're going to break down some of these alerts here momentarily. We're going to give you a look at this graphic, which I'm going to pull up on your screen right here. We're going to break this graphic down right here. And we're going to talk about my final forecast here in terms of my snow zones custom graphic right here at the One Nation Weather Channel. We'll also be breaking down the GFS model. We'll break down some of the short-range guidance that's coming for this system as well. It's going to be an action-packed live stream for about 10 or 15 minutes of forecasting, and then, as always, as I do with my streams, I'll get to all questions and comments and concerns and all that stuff. Of course, with the Super Chat donations, if there's any of those, I'll answer those questions first, but I'll answer any general questions that we have as well. Thank you so much for everybody who is tuning in to this live stream, and we've even got Weather Center Nazario in the chat. Welcome, and thank you so much for being here tonight. I want to go ahead and jump right back on over here to the full look here at Radar Omega, because I think it does a good job when you put the alerts overlay on at showing really where we've got that best chance of all of our different winter weather conditions. And you can see, even though we're not necessarily anticipating a lot of snow or ice as you push back here into parts of Texas, coming up into Oklahoma, into southeast parts of Kansas, as well as into parts of Missouri, we're still looking at the possibility for some pretty notable ice impacts and or snow impacts in some of these locations. Let me, in fact, turn this. There we go. Now you can see those drawings I'm putting on your screen. Here we go as we push out of parts of Texas into Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri. As I was just saying, we've got winter weather advisories in any of these purple shades. That means we're probably going to see minor to maybe moderate impacts from ice and or snow, probably some snowfall in a lot of these spots, but down here in Texas it is going to be mostly ice. Up here it's all for the snow that could accumulate in some of those lighter fashions as you come on up here on the north side of our winter storm warning. Where we do have winter storm warnings, that's as you push here right from the north side of Dallas, including the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex right there. You can see Dallas and Fort Worth, your counties right there in the winter storm warning. All of the rest of northeast Texas to the north and east from Dallas there, including Tyler and points northbound from there, in the winter storm warning as of now from the National Weather Service on our Wednesday evening. Southeast Oklahoma here, that is southeast of Oklahoma City and Tulsa. Only winter weather advisories for there for now. Through a lot of Arkansas, except for the far southeast counties and the far northwest counties, we've got a winter storm warning. And then you can see also right here in the far southeast part of Missouri, into the far southern part of Illinois, far southwestern parts of Kentucky, western Tennessee, and northern Mississippi. Look at this, a big chunk of the northern third of Mississippi right there under a winter storm warning as a result of the system that's going to be on the way in the next 24 to 48 hours. And then you see some of these blues over here that are a lot more faded. This indicates a winter storm watch that's in place. This means that there's just not enough confidence to fully turn this over to a warning just yet. But I'd say 80+% of these zones are going to transfer over to a winter storm warning as the National Weather Service sees increased confidence in those snowfall and ice conditions. So here into Kentucky, Tennessee, the northern third of Alabama and Georgia, including the Birmingham and Atlanta zones, and then on up here into places like Greenville in South Carolina, Charlotte in North Carolina, Asheville in western North Carolina, up to Johnson City in Tennessee, Bristol there, right on the border of Tennessee and Virginia. All these locations we are under a winter storm watch, and that could be either for the ice or the snow. The further south you go right into this zone, we're probably going to see a lot more of a mix between ice and snow as this event goes on, and then the further north you go in any of these warned areas, it is going to be more like all snow as we go through this event. With that overview of the system now being done, I want to go ahead and jump on over here to the latest GFS model. I know I don't normally like to use the GFS model as the European model is higher resolution, but when it comes to these kinds of systems and we're getting into the closer range, not only do all of the models become a little bit more in agreement and we see more accuracy, but of course one thing to keep in mind is the fact the GFS has had this snow signal on pretty much for the longest of all of these models here for a really long time, and it's been trying to hint at a system coming at the mid to the back half of this week just like it's about to do, really since like a week ago when there was some weird signals showing the snow further south. I digress from that, though. Let's go ahead and jump right into the timing here using your GFS model, and let's go ahead and play things out here. First of all, just starting with the beginning of this storm and how it could play out as we go into the afternoon of our Thursday. Starting out down here into parts of Texas, Louisiana, up in Oklahoma and Arkansas, that's where we're going to see some of our initial precipitation. I think while we see rain, maybe some ice or sleet mixing in down here into San Antonio, Austin, and Killeen, with rain also just down here as you go to the Gulf Coast and into parts of Louisiana. We are going to see a transition from rain to freezing rain somewhere right in this general zone, hence a lot of those winter weather advisories that have been issued. And then I think there's two main areas where we're going to have that best chance for some snowfall. One's going to be initially here, maybe even including Dallas-Fort Worth, where we could get some decent snowfall accumulations, but we will see some wintry mix in this zone almost certainly here as this event comes through. Right in here, this is going to be one of our snow zones to begin this event as you come out of northeast Texas into far southeast Oklahoma and southwest Arkansas. And then we've also got a zone back on over here as you push into parts of far northern Texas into the panhandle of Oklahoma, where we are going to have at least the possibility for a little bit of some snowfall accumulation here, a few inches, and it's going to go untapped in terms of, extra wintry mix or sleet and ice coming in the mix. So whatever you get up there in Amarillo, Pampa there in Texas, if I pronounce that correctly, into parts of Woodward there in Oklahoma and Guymon, as this event kicks off, that will definitely fall as pretty much all snow, and we're not going to see any sort of wintry mix getting in the mix, so to speak, up there. As this event pushes on, as we go into the middle of the evening here Thursday, and then as we push literally into the middle of the night, Thursday night to Friday, we see rain spreading east as you push on over here into parts of Louisiana and a lot of Mississippi. You can see, though, it looks like somewhere right in this general zone, I think we could see a little bit more ice and sleet in this transition line, but somewhere right in here is where we're going to have that potential for the transition from rain over to snow. And notice that's really, really close to Dallas and could really affect your accumulation. Even if you just turn over to rain for a couple of hours, that really suppresses your snowfall. Coming on up here into southeast Oklahoma, especially east, again, of Oklahoma City and Tulsa, that's where that heaviest snowfall band looks to set up there. And then as you come over here into central Arkansas, again, it's looking like some decent snowfall is going to come through here, and this could be some of the heaviest snow in the entire event. Some spots in Arkansas, as this continues, look at this, even into the overnight, we could pick up close to 8 to 10 inches of snow in some parts of Arkansas as this picks up through the rest of the evening and into the overnight. Nonetheless, let's zoom things out so you can see what's going on by the time we go to around 7 a.m. here on our Friday morning. Yes, we could see some of that snow that was back down on here in places like Amarillo from the night before, now crossing on up here with at least some light to moderate snow as it connects with a low moving through the Great Lakes on up here to bring some snow into parts of Missouri and into the areas of like Illinois. And then as you come back on down here into the Mid-South, look at this. This is your main swath of snow. And I've seen this trend on pretty much all of the models, especially for at least the initial point of this storm as it works into a zone that's pretty chilly during the morning time frame. As you come out of central Arkansas into northern Mississippi, even into northern Alabama, including Birmingham, possibly over to Atlanta, Georgia, I think a lot of these zones are going to start out with some snow or at least maybe some sleet as we kick off that morning time frame here into our Friday morning. Then as we go south of there, down here into parts of Louisiana, into Mississippi, into southern Alabama, looking more like a rain possibility down there again. I really think once you get south of places like Jackson, over here into Vicksburg, and then the north side, of Alexandria there in Louisiana, and then points south of that, really looking like it's going to stay all rain, probably not even any chance of sleet or freezing precipitation getting in the mix. But here we go, let's play things out a little bit more. By the time you go through the around midday to the early afternoon time frame of our Friday here, it's really looking like things are going to pick up even as we go east. Snow cranking out even as you come here, beginning to end here. That's a weird saying. Starting to end as you come out of parts of Arkansas, but looking like it's going to be picking up by this point in time with some of that possibly heaviest and mostly uninterrupted snow coming here into Tennessee. We're going to be very close, but if we stay all snow in northern Mississippi and northern Alabama, this could be some heavy totals with some spots picking up 6 or more inches of snow. Coming over here into the northwest parts of South Carolina, dare I say even Columbia, South Carolina, up to Charlotte, North Carolina, we could at least start this event with snow. But one thing I want to point out, you see all this warm air down here as you come through parts of the far south central United States, Mississippi, into Alabama. That push of warmer than average air is going to try and knock this area that could be a little bit more expansive in terms of sleet and freezing rain and push it to the north, and that will really try to deplete some of the snow totals here, and here. If you don't see where here is, that's coming out of northern Alabama into northern Georgia, into the western Carolinas, I think, as this event continues to push east as we go through our Friday. Look at that. You could see that sleet and freezing rain. Might even turn over to all rain before this is all said and done in Atlanta. Trying to mix on over from snow to sleet and freezing rain as you even come here into Greenville, Anderson there in South Carolina, back to Athens, Georgia through the evening. Same goes into Columbia, even if you randomly start with snow there in South Carolina, probably turning to freezing rain. But up here, whatever snow we're seeing between that little clipper piece of energy coming on here through the Great Lakes and some of that energy moving in from the southwest to the northeast, this is going to be all snow on up here in the Ohio Valley, and especially where we see kind of that merging between the piece of energy to the north and the piece of energy moving in from the southwest. right in this general zone is where we could get a little bit more in the way of heavier totals out of this snow that's continuing up there. And then as we play out the conclusion of the storm as we go through Friday night into the morning here of our Saturday, looks like that freezing rain line kind of stops as you come somewhere right here along the Interstate 85 corridor. And then as you come on over here towards I-95 in eastern North Carolina as well, we could be seeing on the northern part of I-95 right on up in this zone, we could be seeing the transition from sleet to snow. Right on up there into Virginia, it looks like you stay mainly snow out of this, and we maybe even briefly see some snow try to pivot through a place like D.C., parts of the Delmarva region, and then on over here into New Jersey before this kind of all becomes said and done. By the time we go overnight, Thursday night, Friday night heading into our Saturday morning, and then there goes our storm. We would be pretty much done. Now, this is a broad overview. Some of the short-range guidance shows some slightly different solutions, but I've analyzed all of the model guidance, and I want to go ahead and pivot back on over here now to my custom graphic I've made for you before we start answering any individual questions folks have. Here's my January 9th through 12th custom graphic made for you right here on the channel. And this really shows where I think the heaviest snow risk is going to be for those in the blue. If you're in the blue, you have a pretty decent chance of at least picking up some snowfall, probably a couple inches. And then especially if you're in this part of the blue, right in here, I think this is where we're going to have that better chance of some spots picking up more like 6 or more inches of snow, at least in isolated fashion. So anywhere from parts of Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois back down through North Texas, we're going to have the potential for at least a couple of inches of snow. Same goes as that stripe continues through the northern parts of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, the western Carolinas, up into the mid-Atlantic. But again, right in that white zone right in here, southeast Oklahoma, pushing into southern Arkansas, pushing into western Tennessee and northern Mississippi. This general zone is where I am anticipating that best chance for someone to get a little bit more snowfall, and it could certainly push upwards of half a foot there. Certainly something we're going to be keeping an eye on for as this heavy snow is really going to push on through. Of course, one thing that I know everybody wants to see is going to be your snow totals that are forecasted by the experts. And what we have here is the National Digital Forecast Database and its snowfall guidance. And I want to go ahead and pivot back on over to that now. I know I'm jumping maps a little bit here. Here we go, jumping on over to your Radar Omega full screen. This is the latest data from the National Digital Forecast Database, which gives a pretty good estimate of what you can expect at the minimum, and some spots could pick up maybe a little bit more than that. That's exactly what happened with the last storm when there was like 18 plus inches of snow here into some parts of the Central Plains pushing into the Midwest. It was underdoing it just the slightest bit for most zones, but it's better to underdo it and, make people expect they're going to get a little less snow than they actually are than to say, oh, you're going to get a bunch of inches because, most people do want all the snow. And if they don't get it when it's forecasted, that is going to be a frustrating thing. First of all, here as we push into northeast Texas, let's go area by area, talking about some of these snowfall zones that we're going to have. If you find yourself in this bright blue area right here in northeast Texas, this is where the National Digital Forecast Database is saying about 1 to 3 inches of snow can be anticipated. I personally think we could get more like upwards of 4 to 6 right here as you push up against that border with southeast Oklahoma, pushing there into the Arklatex border there with Arkansas, because I think right in here is where that heaviest snow is starting to show up on some of more of our short-range guidance, and we could definitely pick up a little bit heavier snow, especially on the north and eastern sides, the extreme northeastern zones like Denison, Paris, over to Texarkana, as this event really picks up into the evening Thursday night into Friday. In terms of the snow as we push here through eastern Oklahoma, notice only an inch or two indicated by the lighter blues here in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. If you find yourself in any of that lighter blue color like Oklahoma City and Tulsa is seeing, that's about an inch or two of snow. But as you push down here towards McAllister and then into Fort Smith, Arkansas, at least a few inches. Somewhere right around or just south of Fort Smith, Arkansas, though, where you see these blues indicating at least a few inches of snow quickly turning to purples. Right in here is where a lot of model guidance has been consistently indicating, and this National Digital Forecast Database is even saying, look at this, somewhere right around Hot Springs, up into Little Rock, we could easily pick up about 10 inches of snow wherever that exact heaviest band sets up. I'm not saying that's going to come right through Little Rock proper like this is indicating, but right in this zone right here is where let's not draw the line that far south. Right in this zone right here is where there's been some pretty good consensus that we are going to have at least 6 inches of snow in many of these zones, and a spot or two could pick up about 8 or 10 inches where we get the most uninterrupted, solid snowfall consistently coming down. Otherwise, let's look at some of these totals briefly up here in Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, then we'll jump back south. A lot of these numbers being forecasted by the forecast database, even as you push into western Kentucky. A lot of these blues indicate anywhere from around 3 to 6 inches of snow. Let's kind of put the pin down on some of these. You could see there 4 inches there into western Kentucky, for example, around, I don't know why this thing's acting up, but when you stop it, it doesn't act up as much. 4.5 inches there. There's 3.5 inches. So I'd say a lot of these zones here can expect around 2 to 5 inches of snow at least. Some spots getting closer to 3 to 6, especially as you come back down here into parts of southern Kentucky, into parts of north central Tennessee. Let's look at some of these numbers that were expected in Tennessee. As you come right here along that Mississippi and Tennessee border and up into places like Memphis, Covington, Humboldt, Jackson, Henderson, and Bolivar there, I'd say we could pick up upwards of around 6 inches of snow in isolated fashion here, but definitely expect at least 3 to 6. Again, some local spots at least I think could get 6 to 8 in this zone if that heavier swath from Arkansas continues to the east. Right here in the far northern parts of Mississippi and Alabama, these blues indicating around 4. There's 4 inches there. There's another spot getting about 4 inches of snow. At least a few inches here, including places like Oxford, up to Hernando, Corinth, Florence, Huntsville, Moulton, and over to Fort Payne, assuming the forecast holds. I do want to make sure I get that clear. This is not the exact final forecast, but overall this gives a good job of showing where at least a couple of inches of snow is going to be anticipated, and that continues all the way on over here through eastern Tennessee, where we could get 3 to 6 in a lot of the southern Kentucky and the eastern parts of Tennessee. Into North Georgia, at least about 3 inches, some spots pushing up closer to 6 inches when you get some of that terrain there into the North Georgia mountains. Let's look at this here in the far northern parts of South Carolina. Looking like a couple inches of snow at least going to be possible here, especially as you come around Anderson to Williamston to Simpsonville, and then as you push to the northwest of there and go up into the higher terrain that starts picking up out of there and into the western North Carolina's mountains. Right in here, some of these highest peaks could easily pick up 6 to 10 inches of snow, and that's unfortunate given the fact, obviously, that there are many residents who are displaced as a result of Helene in this area. You know, we don't really want too much winter weather and cold, but that's the big trend here into the Appalachians and even the southern Appalachians as we go with time. And then in terms of snowfall totals continuing east from there, even Charlotte and Raleigh, an inch or two of snow possible. The north side of town, especially as you come right up here along the North Carolina-Virginia border, the digital forecast database is indicating we could get 2 to 3 inches of snow in some of these zones, even as you push on over there towards the Virginia coastline, including Virginia Beach, and then up there towards the far southern parts of Delaware. That's your kind of southern part of the snow track, but remember I said there was some energy swinging through on the north as well. That's going to keep some of that snow going on up here into Ohio, where a lot of Ohio, pretty much all of Ohio, is anticipating around 2 to 4 inches. You look at these blues, you can see around 3.5 there. There's 4. There's more like 3.5. So a lot of spots around 2 to 4 according to the digital forecast database. And then other than some lake effect snow and a little bit that pushes here into western PA where a few inches will be possible, that is about the conclusion of this event. So just to kind of recap everything that I'm talking about here, here's the overall situation. First of all, if you're in any of these blues on the screen, again, that's where we're anticipating at least a couple inches of snow being possible. Better chance for at least 3 to 6 inches of snow is going to be right as you come down into this general zone right in here, roughly. Best chance for upwards of 6 inches of snow, maybe even becoming possible, is going to be right in here. And then, as of course, with you go with some of that terrain in the upper elevations here of the North Georgia mountains into western North Carolina, we're also going to have that potential for upwards of maybe 6 inches of snow being possible there. But with that being said, that is the conclusion for my forecasting part of this live stream. I am going to go ahead and get into some questions now. And not a question from Wild, but $5 donation there. I want to say thank you very much for that super chat. Keep up the good work. Love to see it. And we've also got some NFL chat going on here now. I appreciate the super chat donation there. $5. Let's see what questions do we have here. I'm going to start with the one that we got right below the super chat, but if I missed your question that's already been asked, now that we're done with the forecasting section of this live stream, I'll start answering your snow totals and other questions that you have. By the way, I did forget to show this, and I briefly want to do so before we get into the questions real quick here. But go ahead and start getting your questions down in the chat. Here is your ice potential according to the GFS model really quickly. I can't even believe I forgot to show this. This is one of the more significant impacts that could occur. Look at this stripe right here. As you come out of northeast Texas, into parts of far northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas, we could get at least enough ice to cause some minor power outages as well as some minor issues on the roads. And similar problems could continue wherever we get sleet and freezing rain in northern Mississippi. Same goes in northern Alabama, North Georgia, into the Carolinas, and anywhere where we see this ice. That's not only going to cause some minor issues, and, you know, I guess what I want to say here is not only will it cause some issues, it's unfortunately going to deplete your snowfall total possibility as a snow lover. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. But let me go ahead and jump on over here now to what we're looking at with some of those questions. Can the snow totals in the Northeast change at all? They could technically change, but overall, nothing too significant is showing up there into the Northeast United States. If you can give me a location, Jones Barbecue, I can help you out a little bit more with that as well. Let's see, Tristan Pacheco, can we expect anything here on the East Coast in the Boston area? Let's see what the digital forecast database is showing for you up there. It is indicating that you could definitely pick up some brief snow out of this system. Let me pivot back on over here to the GFS model really quickly on the weather bell so that you can kind of see what is being projected in terms of the snowfall into parts of the Massachusetts shoreline. It doesn't really look like anything too significant is going to come through, but because there is a little bit of a clipper-like piece of energy working through southern Canada, that northern stream part of energy I've been talking about in the stream so far, you could get a dusting to maybe an inch or two as a result of that. But unless there's a sudden far northerly track shift with our low that's pivoting here along the southern U.S., looks like that heaviest snow stripe, which is just 3 to 6 inches in most spots, that's going to come right on here through the mid-Atlantic, and a lot of the same spots that just got snow from our most recent winter storm, Blair. And then there goes the snow offshore, and it misses you there in southern New England. I don't think that's going to change unless there's some drastic things that happen on the models. Dayton, Ohio, I can certainly cover you that there. Connor Miller, let me go ahead and pivot on over to the full screen look at the Radar Omega once again here, and I'm going to go ahead and start typing in some of these locations now using the search tool here in Radar Omega. I really like this feature and ability. So yeah, there in Ohio, you're kind of in the crosshairs of the far northern end of the light snow that's going to be working with that winter storm to your south, and some of that snow that's coming in with that system that's working its way through the Great Lakes with that clipper-like energy. I think here as you come into a place like Dayton, Ohio, the digital forecast database is saying you're going to get about 3 or 4 inches of snow, so a pretty solid quick stripe of snowfall to say the least. I'm looking at the GFS model on my own end, even though it's not up on your screen right now, and it's also indicating somewhere around 3 to 5 inches of snow. So roughly in the range of 3 to 5, give or take a little bit. That's what you're looking at there into Dayton, Ohio. Now I see a question for Beaufort, Georgia. It's nice to see, some of the southern states getting in on some of this snowfall possibility, although we don't want the ice in some locations. So here we are. We're now looking at Beaufort, Georgia there into the northeast side of metro Atlanta. And according to the National Digital Forecast Database, this is pretty good, considering that this is normally a conservative piece of data here from the Weather Service. It's showing around 2 inches of snow, so I would definitely count on at least an inch, probably, if that's already the forecast from them. But one thing that I am going to tell you here, let's pivot back on over briefly to the weather bell so you can see it. Regions, Southeast United States, there you go. It does look like even if you start as snow and you pick up a couple of inches of snow, you turn over to some ice as the event goes on into our Friday evening. And then we might even try to turn over to rain briefly before this event is all said and done. So it looks like heavy snow to kick this off possibly, but it quickly turns over to that ice and sleet. And that's when things also become more slick on roadways, and it really suppresses your snow totals. So that's those 2 inches of snow is probably going to fall, maybe even a little bit more snow. That would come down before you get freezing rain. And it looks like right there in Atlanta, it's pretty high confidence that this turns to freezing rain unless something drastically changes. We'll keep an eye out on that. Let's see what else we got. I missed a lot of questions here. Let's see, what is Springfield, Missouri looking like? Let's get that one for you there. Springfield. Okay, pulling it right on up here as we push into the southern part of Missouri. Oh yeah, let me pivot back on over. I sometimes forget to change the scenes. Looking like a few inches of snow are going to be possible there in Missouri. Good news with any snow you get, it is going to go uninterrupted, and it's going to be, not even the heaviest of snowfall necessarily. It's not going to affect travel as significantly as some of those winter weather impacts to your south. It's going to be very cold, no chance of other wintry mix like sleet or freezing rain getting in the mix there. So in a place like Missouri, you're in good shape for this few inches of snow to not be suppressed by any ice or any other impacts. So that's nice there, assuming that you do like snow at least. Let's see what else we've got. We've got Lexington, South Carolina, any snowfall. Let's pivot on over here to search up Lexington specifically. Lexington, South Carolina. Yeah, as we come right down here into the west side of Columbia, there we go. Yeah, the National Digital Forecast Database is not calling for any accumulation that far south. And I also saw a question for Greenville, South Carolina, so we'll address that while I'm on this. Right there on the west side of Columbia, we're probably not anticipating much accumulation, but you could definitely briefly see some snow turning to sleet and then probably quickly over to freezing rain and rain as we go through the day Friday as this event actually begins. But again, no real snowfall accumulation expected this far south, and it turns over to other precipitation types as we move forward. I've heard a bunch of weather channels on. Oh, I missed some. Let's go back on up. I changed my screen name. Okay, got it. Oh, yeah, I remember some of your comments there, Julia Morgan. Now, Sublime48, good to know. Yeah, up in New York, the snow totals we've been talking about. Let's look at this. Poughkeepsie, yeah, you're probably in a zone where we're not going to get much snow up there, Jones BBQ, sorry. Snow or ice, rain at Vicksburg, Mississippi. Vicksburg, you're in a position where you could maybe briefly see some freezing rain, I'd say. Maybe some brief flakes, but I don't really want to say any wintry weather is going to hit there. And if it does, it's almost certainly going to be replaced by rain very quickly into Friday morning as this southerly flow starts to push in. One thing that's crazy about this entire storm, and I haven't even been mentioning here just yet on the live stream, down in Mobile, Alabama, I was looking at the National Weather Service forecast earlier. It is calling for 60 degrees and rain right down here along the Gulf Coast part of Alabama, and it's still 50 even as you push just to the southwest side of Montgomery and just down there. And then we quickly transition to the 40-degree line and the 30-degree line right up here, and then we turn to snow, of course, as you get north of Birmingham. Really crazy, because it's basically on Friday morning going to be 60, or Friday during the day going to be 60 in Mobile, while Birmingham's 30, give or take. You know, pretty crazy stuff there. Yeah, Long Island, not getting too much out of this. South Haven, Mississippi, we can definitely check on that for you there, Josh Streeter. If I'm behind on some of your comments and questions, just be patient. Of course, I do answer the super chat ones first, if there are any of those. South Haven, did I type this wrong? Where did that go? Man, I just lost it. I don't know where that one went. Okay, I see a lot of questions about some of the totals. We've got Greenville, North Carolina, Wake Forest, North Carolina, Henderson, North Carolina. So let's cover some of those real quick. Starting with Greenville, North Carolina, as you come over, there it is, right here in the eastern part of the state. It caught my eye. Looking like at least an inch or so of snow could be possible there. But one impact that is going to be a concern with some of your snowfall totals that you could get in that zone is the fact that we're probably going to turn over to ice as this event goes on into our Saturday morning unless the forecast drastically changes. So that could impact your snow totals and really suppress it down. But you'll at least start probably with some flakes unless the forecast drastically changes. Henderson, North Carolina, and then Wake Forest. Well, let's do Wake Forest first, actually. I think I'd seen that one first. Wake Forest there in the north central part of North Carolina. Better chance that you stay more all snow throughout a lot of this event, but you could definitely turn to ice briefly. I'd count on 2-ish, maybe pushing towards 3 or 4 inches, unless the forecast changes there. Yes, everybody please quit spamming. I'm glad Corbin Butler put that in the chat. There's been a lot of consistently spammed questions over and over again. Henderson, North Carolina. Yes, I'm getting to your question. I should really answer the people who aren't yelling at me in all caps before I answer these ones that are in all caps after some impatience. And that's not Henderson, North Carolina either. Henderson, North Carolina. Here we go. Let's give you a look here as you push into north central North Carolina. Yeah, a few inches up here certainly being possible, and it would be less likely to be interrupted by ice throughout a lot of the event, but we could even see some ice here as we go into the Saturday morning time frame. So I would still expect maybe 3-ish inches of snow, give or take. But again, that forecast, you know, you're not going to get quite that much snow on the ground when it's all said and done if ice comes in into the nighttime hours, Friday night going into Saturday. Again, I'm missing some comments and questions here. Ringgold, Georgia. If I do miss yours, please put it back in the chat maybe once every couple of minutes. Let's see, Ringgold there. Yeah, you're in the North Georgia area that could certainly, I think, in isolated instances, pick up closer to 6 inches of snow. So I wouldn't fully rule that out of the question, and be on the lookout for that. But it looks like generally 3 to 6 at least across a lot of this zone, and some spots could maybe get just upwards of 6. Let's see, we've got Trevor in the chat, and he says, Oak Ridge, Tennessee. I appreciate the super chat donation there of $1.99. All those little $1.99s that I get from time to time really do add up. I appreciate the support. Let's go to Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and give you a look at your projected forecast. And with the super chat, we'll focus on this zone just a little bit more specifically here so I can make sure I try to nail that forecast perfectly down for you there. Not to say those numbers for the other areas aren't accurate. Let's look at this here as we come into East Central Tennessee. The National Digital Forecast Database is showing about 6 inches of snow. Let's go back on over here to Weather Bell so that we can look at some of this guidance here as we push. Let's use the Southern Appalachians tool. Snowfall, winter. GFS models showing about 6 to 7 inches of snow in that same zone. Euro models showing about 5 inches. So you've got 5 on one model, Digital Forecast Database showing 5, and GFS about 6 or 7. All said and done, we're probably looking at somewhere right around 6 inches of snow, give or take. Could be a little bit more, a little bit less. But the good news there in a place like Oak Ridge is that you're less likely to see quite as many disruptions from something, say, like, the freezing rain that far north. In fact, if I pivot back on over, or are we still on it? Yeah, we're still on it. Here's your Weather Bell map. Notice it looks like we're going to stay all snow up there in East Central Tennessee, and that will really help in keeping those accumulations on the ground without any freezing rain or sleet to kind of push that snow and pack it in more, making the total seem like a little less all said and done. So again, I can't stress enough in the areas that get ice and sleet, even if you get 3 inches of snow, if it falls before you change over to ice and sleet, which is going to be the case in a lot of zones, then it's not necessarily going to stay on the ground or look like that much by the time you wake up, say, Saturday morning. But yeah, they're in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, I'd say around 3 to 6, closer to 6. Unless the forecast changes. Let's see, we've got Hendersonville, North Carolina was the most recent one since the super chat. Let's go on over here to the full screen. Let's look at Hendersonville there. Up there it is right there in south central parts of North Carolina. Here we go. It is looking on the forecast database like about 4.5 inches according to that guidance. And it's really looking like in this zone, I think 3 to 6 would be a fairly good call as you come down here, where we're going to see a little bit less with terrain up there into the western North Carolina mountains. That's certainly just a little bit better for in terms of staying more consistently snow as opposed to ice. But even here, we can see a little bit of ice or sleet try to pack that snow in as the event goes on. And really here, all through parts of northwestern parts of South Carolina, northeast Georgia, you see these areas in the blue right in here. These are the spots where at least a few inches of snow is possible, again, before any other sort of ice or mixing comes in. So that might help answer questions. I saw one for Greenville, South Carolina as well, looking like about 2 to 4 in a place like Greenville. But again, I don't know why that's saying 5.5. This thing's glitching. There we go, 2.5. But it might quickly turn over. There's 3. See, why does it go? That doesn't make any sense. This is 3.5 right here, though. I don't know why it says 5.5 in between the 2.5 and 3.5. This map's glitching. I've seen it do it. And I think it's just within this program, because it's nothing on, look, 60 inches. What is that? The overall color scheme is correct, though. So around 1 to 3 in a lot of these zones, and then you go up as you push north and west of there. The higher up you go, and the less chance you have of ice and sleet packing it down, more snow is going to fall down. Greensboro, we've got Atlanta, and then I'm doing Greensboro. Again, I'm jumping over some random ones here as my chat is continuing to scroll down, so if I miss yours, just let me know. And please, without spamming, put your question back down in the chat. Let's go over to Greensboro, North Carolina. And again, I will hit the super chat ones first like I did with the 199 a minute ago. I really did appreciate that. Let's see here into north central parts of North Carolina. Looking like a solid few inches of snow could certainly hit you up there. Upwards, again, around 3 or 4 inches could definitely be a possibility as you come through north central North Carolina. Greensboro, you're probably going to be mostly snow, and you might not even see too much sleet and ice as this comes through, so that could be pretty good in terms of you keeping your upwards of 3 inches of snow on the ground. Greensboro, yeah, I had said Atlanta was next. As we come back down here, down the pike into central Georgia, right there in the Atlanta metro. Atlanta, it's going to be a close call, but guidance is calling for around an inch or 2 of snow. But Atlanta, you're almost certainly to turn over to sleet or freezing rain at some point during this, and that would really pack your snow in and not make it look like much. So if this falls on Friday morning, and, you got time to enjoy it, maybe enjoy the inch or 2 of snow while it's on the ground before that sleet starts coming down. Because once it does, that's pretty much going to get rid of your snow pretty quickly, especially as it turns from there to freezing rain and then over to regular rain, possibly even before it's all said and done. Let's see, could Huntsville, Alabama pick up 5 or more inches of snow? Yeah, I certainly think that's a possibility. The current official forecast is for 4 inches there, but again, I said this when I first started showing these snowfall graphics. Number can definitely be a little bit on the lower side, if anything. I think we could see briefly a mix with some sleet and some freezing rain, and that could affect your totals, but upwards of 4 inches of snow could definitely be possible. 5 inches is probably going to be pushing it, though, and definitely 6. I don't think we're going to get much more than 6 in a lot of these spots unless something drastic changes. You can always hope, though, with these southern snows, right? Better to, assume we're going to get less and then hope for more. We can actually, this might help answer a lot of folks' questions here. I'm going to zoom out really quickly, and then I'm going to get back to questions here in about 3 minutes. I want to give you a look at the latest National Weather Service alerts. I'm going to turn those back on here so we can show you what some of these winter storm advisories that are already up are forecasting, and all those pins, ignore those. Those are just from the places I've been typing in. So here we go. We're going to start in these winter storm warned areas here in northeast Texas. Notice on this north side of Dallas, this winter storm warning is calling for 2 to 4 inches and ice accumulations around 1/10 of an inch. That's the official guidance from the National Weather Service. But as you push here through southeast Oklahoma, 4 to 6 inches of snow being possible right there, with a light glaze of ice also being a possibility. Coming over here, let's look at Little Rock, Arkansas, for example. In this zone, total ice and snow accumulations between at least 4 to 8 inches and some ice of 1/10 to 1/4 of an inch being possible. And then we continue over here in northern Mississippi. Some of these zones we could be 4 to 6 inches. So again, somewhere in here, we're going to have a lot more spots that pick up upwards of 6 inches of snow being possible. As we come into west central Tennessee, including Memphis up to Jackson, this zone, 4 to 6 inches of snow. Now, even though this hasn't been transferred from a winter storm watch to a winter storm warning yet, even over here into central and eastern Tennessee, the winter storm watch is saying, and I'm sure this will be specified more when the actual warning comes out, they're saying 3 to 7 inches of snow with locally higher amounts possible for all of middle Tennessee. So that's pretty decent snowfall. In eastern Tennessee over there as well, 2 to 4, up to 6 inches as well on some of the guidance. And I think a lot more guidance is turning towards 5 or 6 in East Tennessee. That's my personal opinion. Again, northern parts of Alabama, Georgia, and the Carolinas, these zones right in here are under winter storm watches, even if it's just because of the fact that ice is going to mix in at times with some of that initial snowfall. By the way, we have 261 watching this live stream as of the time I'm saying this, and there is 62 likes on this stream. Let's try to get that like number up to around at least 100 here. And of course, if you're new to the channel, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. I normally do forecast videos, but I'm trying now here as we've started 2025. I've been doing forecast live streams as well right before these types of storm systems begin. It's going to be difficult to answer every single person's question. Scott Jones, I do appreciate the subscription. I've been seeing this Dover, Delaware question a good bit, so I do want to cover that next, and then we'll start getting into some of the other ones as well. Chris Lilly, I'm talking to you in Dover, Delaware. Let's start with that here, with your snow totals that are being projected by the Digital Forecast Database. Let's just cover up all those winter weather alerts and put the snow on top of it here. Here we go. As you push up into Delaware, it's going to be a tough call depending on the exact track of that heavier snow stripe that's going to try to set up right as this comes towards the coast. But the National Digital Forecast Database is projecting upwards of 1 to 3 inches being possible there. Let me pivot on over here to the weather bell maps. Let me briefly see what this Euro is showing. I think we could get it closer to 3 inches, honestly. Yeah, this guidance is showing. I'd say 1 to 4 inches of snow. This is some of the furthest out that you're going to get as you come right here towards the East Coast. So expect at least 1, maybe up to 4 or 5. I'd bet on at least 2 or 3, though, based on the guidance. So I'd say 2 to 4 is my personal guess, but it could go anywhere from 1 to 5 with changes on the models there. The Barberville, Kentucky area, let's go over there. And I had seen some questions about Indiana as well, and I apologize if I missed some of those. I've been trying to cover some of the southern zones because, it's more unusual down there. Down here in southeast Kentucky, this is one of those spots where I think at least 3 inches is going to fall, and you're already under winter weather alerts. 4 to 6 inches could definitely not even be out of the question there. The National Digital Forecast Database is even showing it, so you could definitely pick up 4 or 6 inches. 4 to 6 inches of snow could definitely be a possibility, give or take. Again, all of this is just general kind of average guidance. Let's see here. Is there another system behind this one? I briefly see that. There's not another significant system behind this one. There is going to be a clipper that impacts some parts of the north central U.S. as we go, I believe, like a few days past the end of this storm. But it's not going to be necessarily as significant. It's going to run right through the north central U.S. zones that get snow like once a week, it feels like, this time of the year. Not to be stereotypical of the snow in the north, but just saying. Let's see what else we've got. Pittsburgh, PA, and then Dayton, Ohio. Again, if I'm missing yours, there's one of me to look at all these questions, so we're going to do our best to get through some of these. Pittsburgh, PA, a few inches of snow looking possible there, give or take from about 3 or 4 inches. Back down here to Memphis, I saw a question about Memphis. This is where you're going to be possibly in one of the better setup scenarios, because as you come here out of parts of Arkansas and as you push into southwest Tennessee, not Mississippi, even northwest Mississippi though, right in this general zone, this is where I was talking about at the start of the stream before a lot of folks hopped on here. This general zone is where we could have that best chance. Even this guidance is showing upwards of possibly 6 inches of snow. I think Memphis, you're looking at about 6-ish inches of snow, give or take, and you're going to stay mostly snow through this event. You could maybe even get upwards of 6 to 8 if this overperforms a little bit. So it could be a pretty, big shutdown type of snowstorm for the south, so to speak, in a place like Memphis out of this one. I appreciate the 199 super sticker or whatever that is there, Erica Rose. Thank you very much. Let me see if we've got the latest guidance here from our short-range HRRR out. So we've got the short-range HRRR, which is pretty much one of the best short-range pieces of guidance you can look at, and it goes all the way to about 36 hours out. That's pretty good. Let's see. Well, it's going to go to about 30 hours. So here's the latest short-range official forecast here from the HRRR, and it does a pretty good job initializing the storm in comparison to the GFS. Notice the ice and sleet line-ish is right around Dallas as we go to late tomorrow. Snow heaviest there in far northern Texas, pushing into southeast Oklahoma, and really erupting there into Arkansas by the furthest we can push this to, which is around the middle of the night. You can see there in parts of southeast Oklahoma into central Arkansas. Again, right where we see that heaviest snow, uninterrupted snow setup, that's where we're going to get that heaviest swath, and some spots could get 6 to 10 inches at least. Asheville's calling for 1 inch, Sam Nicholson? Yeah, we're calling for more than that for Asheville. No one's calling for 1 inch of snow unless they're crazy in Asheville, or unless something crazily changes, I can tell you that. It's going to be at least like 3 or 4 inches of snow probably there, unless something changes. The National Weather Service is saying 1 to 3 inches as you push south of the mountains. So if that's the case, because we were looking at this earlier, I believe, 1 to 3 inches. Oh, I was reading this one before the stream, actually. Outside the mountains, total snow and sleet accumulations between 1 and 3 inches. So that's outside the mountains. If that's outside the mountains, then there's more as you push up into the mountains. So Asheville would probably see at least a couple of inches of snow at the minimum, not 1, unless something really drastically changes. Yeah, this is a weird kind of looking map right now because I've got the alerts and the future radar on the same screen. That's not ideal. Let's turn that off. There we go. I saw South Georgia. Yeah, South Georgia's not getting anything other than rain out of this unless something drastically changes. Especially if you're closer to the border with Florida than anything, you're just getting plain old rain. Sorry. Gotta shoot you straight with that. Knoxville, Tennessee. Yeah, Knoxville, Tennessee is in that eastern part of Tennessee where that National Digital Forecast Database. Let's pivot back on over to that for now. National Digital Forecast Database. And let's put that, we're 2 likes away from 100, by the way, guys. Let's try to get that like button up and get a few new subscribers here. And, of course, the super thanks are always appreciated as well. Here we go into East Central Tennessee. And looking like about 3 to 6 is going to be the general scoop. And, again, I think it could get closer to 6 based on some of the latest guidance up there in a place like Knoxville. But 3 to 6, let's say that for now, give or take. I got Middle River, Maryland. Let's go on up there. We haven't really talked about Maryland at all. Let's just talk about Maryland, the state as a whole, and if you know where Middle River is, then, hopefully you do. Actually, let's just put the pen on the map. Middle River, Maryland. Okay. Yeah, probably an inch-ish or so of snow. I wouldn't say too much more than that could fall. Why does that say? What is this glitch? There we go, 1.5. So an inch or two of snow, and it looks like that heaviest track stays off to your south and east. Best chance for more than 2 inches of snow in Maryland is going to be where we could pick 2 to 5 inches of snow up right down here in the far southeast part that borders with the Atlantic as you get to southern Delaware as well. I'm getting a lot of questions in the chat. I apologize if I don't get to yours. I'm doing my best here. Charlotte, North Carolina, let's pivot back down to there. I did see a question about somewhere in Texas as well that I think I just missed. Charlotte, North Carolina, not 60 inches of snow. Quit glitching! An inch or two of snow could fall, but it's going to turn over to ice or maybe even full-on rain at some point as we go into the nighttime, Friday night going into early Saturday, and that could be a concern for your actual final accumulations. I'd say an inch or two is certainly the most likely there before anything gets suppressed, though, in a place like Charlotte. Heck, though, any flakes here in the southern United States is a pretty nice event, I must say. I mean, you know, as someone who lives in the Carolinas myself, like, I know this amount of snow, any of this, is just, you know, people want to get out and enjoy it, and it's totally understandable. So even an inch or two of snow with sleet coming down, that's a fun family adventure for a lot of folks. Chelsea, Paducah, Kentucky. Oops, that one's first. Paducah, Kentucky, according to the digital forecast database, about 3 or 4 or 5 inches of snow there, so somewhere around that range, give or take. Probably around 4 inches, if that guidance holds, but, you know, you can't say specifically, oh, you're going to get 4.1, oh, you're going to get 3.6, somewhere in the 3 to 6-ish range probably there. Chelsea, Alabama, and then Harlem, Georgia. Again, I'm doing my best to get all of these regular chat ones. The 199 super chats have also been the ones that I've tried to get to first as well, so if you put any of those through, you know, no pressure to donate or anything like that. I'm just saying if you do, then I will get to yours first. But I will try to get to every single one of these in the chat. Chelsea, Alabama, you're not looking at too much snow accumulation, but we could start with some snow or sleet or anything of that nature as we come through around Friday morning. Then we try to see probably a little bit of snow or freezing rain or sleet to start. I know that sounds vague, and it just continues warming up as we go through the day Friday, and that turns you over to all rain unless the model guidance changes. So this snow that might start you off with the event will probably fade away. Harlem, Georgia, I saw that one. Let's come on up here. Yeah, you'll probably maybe see some flakes, given the fact that there's accumulation possible just to your north, but I don't think we're going to get too much. Again, I don't know, you know, ignore these weird glitches with the snow totals. You might see some brief flakes, some surprise flakes into the morning of our Friday, and then we just turn over to rain from there. Or freezing rain even, which wouldn't even, that would be worse. Freezing rain. Thank you very much for the $4.99 there, Brenda. I've really enjoyed seeing your comments on the most recent videos. The support has been much appreciated as well. Let me go back on over here to, I'm looking at the HRRR model on my own, and in fact, let me blow this up for you. The latest full run of the HRRR is now almost fully processed. And here's what it's showing here with this event as we go into the morning now. This is all the way through 12 p.m. on Friday. Again, this could be a big problem. I do want to point this out as you come back on over here. I don't think it's necessarily going to be quite this extreme, but if this does end up happening, this would not be good in terms of your snow totals. I don't know how well you can see that, but back over here, you see that orange? That's not freezing rain, but that's sleet. And if we get all that pushing on up here through northern Mississippi and parts of Alabama by this point in time, that's just, you know, even if there's been a few inches of snow on the ground by this point in time, then that really depletes those snow totals. But right as you come out of the sleet into snow again, right in here, that's where some of that heaviest snow is going to fall out of this entire event, with a lot of spots getting 6 or more inches possibly, I think, if this guidance continues to hold, which it's looking like it will. We're definitely going to continue to watch that final part of that guidance, because that will also affect some of the folks over who have been tuning in into parts of the Carolinas. Let's see if it goes a little further. Yeah, so it has some snow nudging itself into North Georgia, the Western Carolinas by around Friday at noon to 2. That's the furthest this goes, but you can just continue to see, look, that sleet's going to creep through Atlanta and continue to the northeast if this guidance holds. Not saying this is exactly what's going to happen, but if this guidance holds, there is going to be a decent bit of sleet between the snow and the rain. This isn't as bad as freezing rain in terms of depleting your snowfall, but it still ain't snow. This is WeatherBell, Jeffrey, and the other weather model site that I use here, which is this one right here. This is Radar Omega. This is WeatherBell, Radar Omega, WeatherBell. WeatherBell, by the way, there is in the description of this live stream, there's a free trial link for anybody who's interested in getting these maps for yourself. And then you can purchase them from there if you are interested in having your own weather maps to analyze. They're really cool. You can go down, like if you wanted to zoom in on, like, you know, not to turn this into an ad, but they do actually sponsor this channel. If you come down here to South Carolina, for example, you can see that you can zoom in specifically on a state. You can do Montana, Nebraska, wherever. You can. WeatherBell's really nice for these quick looks. And then Radar Omega, I like some of the colorations on some of the graphics better as well. All right, I've seen Gastonia, North Carolina enough that I'm going to come on up there. I feel like I saw that earlier. Can I place it without having to look it up? Ah, dang it. I'm going to have to look it up. Gastonia, let's find it specifically. This is sad. I live in the Carolinas. I should know specifically where it is. Oh, there we go. I was coming into the right zone. Northwest side of Charlotte. Oh, here we go. Let's go back on over to this. Northwest side of Charlotte. A few inches of snow could be possible, but again, with that encroaching sleet being possible deeper into this event, that could definitely deplete some of that snow and push it down. But, you know, a couple inches of snow at the minimum possible there before we turn over to anything else. So that would at least be some snow. And again, snow in the south is snow. We will take it in a lot of spots. I don't know where Seminole is. Seminole where? In fact, I'm done with that. We're going to remove. Is there a way to try to put user in timeout? Okay, we're not going to have the spamming going on. All right, let's see. McKinney, Texas. Yeah, I saw your question a little bit ago, and you haven't been spamming me. I appreciate that. Let's go on over here to McKinney, Texas, right there on that north side of Dallas. The National Digital Forecast Database is calling for about 4 inches of snowfall. Let me look at the latest HRRR on my own personal end, and let's see what it's showing. It's showing it's going to be really close. Like, when I say really close, I mean it is so, so close. Let's look at this. McKinney right there. I think you could pick upwards of 6 inches of snow up if that heaviest band is just a little bit further south, which is what I was talking about at the beginning of the stream, that it certainly could. So, while this official guidance is currently calling for about 4 inches, I think right in here, especially as you start in McKinney and then go up to Denison, Paris, and then towards Texarkana, this general zone, I think someone in here, maybe multiple people, or maybe this entire zone is going to get 6 or more inches of snow. Don't mark my words on it, but I really think so. Somerset, Kentucky. Again, remember, these are just the projected forecast numbers for now. 3 to 6 inches. The deep blue, that's pretty high confidence. Look at this whole area of expansive deep blue. That's 3 to 6 inches being pretty high confidence on pretty much all of our models. That's an easier one. 3 to 6 is looking pretty dang likely unless something significantly changes there. Maybe you'll get closer to 6, though, and that would be a nice surprise, so to speak. Show Maryland. Yeah, there we go as we push on up here into Maryland. You get pressed up against the Appalachians in the far western part of Maryland, and you get more than a few inches there. More than a few inches down towards Salisbury, Pocomoke City, and Chincoteague, if I'm saying that correctly. But in between, Free Roam, Baltimore. Assuming you're asking about Baltimore specifically, obviously. Probably an inch or 2 maybe there, but nothing too crazy. Especially when you compare it to the big ol' blast that came through just a few days ago. Out of that winter storm that just went offshore less than 48 hours ago. Burlington, North Carolina. Alright, we're going to wrap up the stream, by the way, just before about 9 Eastern, 8 Central Time. So if you have any last-minute questions that you don't think I'll get to here in the live chat, Super Chats will help me answer them quicker. Or, of course, you can always just ask again after the stream is over in the regular comment section, and I'll try to get to those at some point later. Might not be tonight, but tomorrow morning maybe as well. Here we go into Burlington, North Carolina. Looking up there, not 5.5 inches. This thing's glitching. It's showing that one blue shade is 5.5, but then it goes that deep blue. That doesn't make any sense. Anyway, you're in the zone of this lighter blue that should indicate 1 to 3, even though it's glitching. You might see ice or sleet try to come up into your zone, though, with time, so that's something to be interested in and keep track of, because that could really affect your snowfall totals. Memphis, Tennessee, let's pivot back on over to there. Memphis is in one of those zones that's probably going to have a better chance of staying mostly uninterrupted for snow. I'm not going to say that you might not see a little bit of sleet from time to time out of this event, but Memphis is right there in the purple on this map, and that means that you could, chances are going up that this 6-inch swath coming out of Arkansas could even include you. I'd say about 6 to 8 inches of snow could definitely be possible. Maybe a little less, maybe a little bit more, but somewhere around 6-ish inches of snow is a pretty good... what's the word I'm looking for? Pretty good estimator for you there. What do I think about Jefferson? Jefferson. Jefferson. Where's Jefferson? Okay, that was Jefferson County, Kentucky. I don't know if I can type in counties on here, but I'll try. I can. That's pretty nice. Kentucky. Jefferson County, Kentucky. Okay, so around Louisville, probably 2 to 5 inches of snow up here. 2 to 5. What am I thinking for Asheboro, North Carolina? I'm glad I've been able to do this stream. I had multiple hundred people in here from time to time. Let's see. A couple inches of snow, but again, you might try to turn over to sleet as this event goes on, so stay tuned. It could really change. Make sure, by the way, everybody who's in here, please, I'm putting a link in the chat right now. Weather.gov. I'm putting the link in the chat. I hope it'll link in anyway. That's your website right there. It's pretty easy to remember if you want to type it in your browser after as well. If you type that in, that's going to give you your exact forecast and the latest alerts from the National Weather Service at any given time. Weather.gov. That's your National Weather Service website. Literally, they get their snow totals right off this graphic right here. This is their National Digital Forecast Database. Pretty cool. I don't know why it's saving the pins over here. Some of these spots that I just looked up, but that's weird. How do I get it to not save those? There we go. Got rid of them just now. Thank you very much to Fossil Water for the $1.99. I do see how much snow for Indiana. We'll cover that real quick. Up in the northern part of Indiana, the digital forecast database in the bright blue is calling for about 1 inch. And then it's more like 2 to 4 as you come down here south of Indianapolis and Terre Haute. Right on that Kentucky border, an isolated spot could definitely be right around that 4-inch mark for sure. Depends on where in Indiana you are. You're welcome for the update, Brenda. You're very welcome, Sam. Fossil Water, again, thank you very much. I do appreciate the $1.99. Let's see. What was being asked about? Oh, yeah, Chattanooga. I got you. Chattanooga right there into southeast Tennessee. We're taking a look at your forecasted snowfall totals, and this guidance is saying around 4 to 6 inches of snow. One big problem that could impact, and again, I don't really like the HRRR just because look at this. It's showing sleet coming all the way on up there into eastern Tennessee. I'm not fully sold on this. Most models aren't showing that crazy of sleet coming up. But it's a trend we have to watch. If the sleet becomes this expansive, that'll really mess up a lot of the snow totals, and that's what I've been trying to reiterate. I definitely think the further south you go, like down into Alabama and Georgia, right in here, it's almost inevitable that you get sleet that messes up any snow that falls. But up into a place like Chattanooga, I wouldn't bet on sleet being the main form of precip. Either way, even given the sleet, HRRR is saying at least a few inches of snow there in Chattanooga, and it could be upwards closer to 6 inches if it stays more like all snow for you there, Fossil Water. I have been seeing the one for Cookeville, Tennessee consistently, and that's going to be pretty much the last one unless we get like a sudden question here at the end of Super Chat or anything of that nature that I miss. or that I don't want to miss, I should say. Cookeville, Tennessee, better chance that you stay mostly all snow unless something crazy happens there, and it looks like you could pick up about 3 to 6 inches of snow. Maybe even closer to 6 or 7 if some of this guidance continues to go up. You're welcome, Fossil Water. You're in one of those places where I'd definitely be checking that weather.gov link consistently, because these southern snowstorms are weird and the sleet tries to mix in. But I'm telling you, I think when the atmosphere gets cold and it's been snowing for a little while in a place like Chattanooga, I don't think it's going to be as easy as the models are indicating for it to just go over to sleet or freezing rain out of nowhere. So that's kind of something to keep in mind. Just a second here. That's not what I'm trying to do here. I just lost my live chat on my personal end. How do I get off this? Sorry, I'm having an issue on my own. I'm looking at my phone trying to read some of these live comments, and I just messed something up. Stand by. Let me cancel that. Okay, now I'm looking. Ooh. Okay. Sorry, I just had all kinds of issues over here on my end. Cancel, discard. Come on now. Okay, I guess that's a sign that this stream needs to come to an end. I'm literally not able to... Let me try and fix something real quick. Again, I know this is a weird ending to this stream, but for those of you who are new to the channel, I'd love it if you'd hit that subscribe button. You're welcome to everybody who I've answered your questions. You did not really spam me, Cole Felix. You're all good. There was someone else who was spamming, and I blocked their chat ability. Hopefully they're not coming back. Alright everyone, thank you very much for tuning into this live stream update. Make sure that you hit that like button if you have not already. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I like to keep things real here and not say every single video title, because I do more videos than I do live streams. And every video title is not going to be, this has taken a huge shift, this has seen extreme increase in snow totals, this is making a huge turn, all that, all over and over again. Models are showing a monster blizzard. If you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to say their name specifically, but it seems like every video, some folks like to just say everything's taken a huge turn. But thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to tune into this live stream update. Not sure if there's going to be another video or live stream about this particular system. I've done videos all week on it so far, and a live stream. I'm going to continue to track this, though. I do have a busy rest of the week, but I'll try to keep an update going here or there on the community tab, if you know what I'm talking about here on YouTube, the community tab of my channel. I'll probably post a final update at some point, maybe tomorrow, about this. But for now, I hope that covered pretty much everybody's overall questions. Remember, everything discussed in the live streams might not specifically pan out exactly how it was shown, but that's going to